The pictures from this horrific bus crash in Tennessee were shocking, and they left us with a lot of questions about what's happening on our local school buses here as they take tens of thousands of kids to school each day. Liza Lucas dives into what's behind these wrecks happening here in the Low Country, and she investigates school bus safety.
If there were another option, I would drive my kids to school.
Parent Diana Southers walks her daughter to the school bus stop each morning in West Ashley.
We have a lot of problems with the bus showing up on time, breaks down a lot.
When I put my kids on the bus, I'm actually leaving their lives in your hands, even if it is for a few minutes.
Anthony Cordell waits for his twins each afternoon as they return from Stono Park Elementary. He thinks their driver is great.
He won't let them cross the street until he says go. I remember one time a lady, she ran the stop sign and he honked the horn and yelled out the window, "Stop! There's children on crossing the street." So,
that doesn't mean this dad doesn't worry. School buses take more than 66,000 Tri-County kids to school each day. Under the Freedom of Information Act, I requested and reviewed nearly 400 crash reports from the South Carolina Department of Education. These reports detail more than 350 accidents involving school buses from 2013 to 2016 in Berkeley, Charleston, Colleton, Dorchester, Georgetown, and Williamsburg counties. Some districts use state buses while others use private companies like Durham School Services, but all report their accidents to the Department of Education. First, I narrowed down the reports to crashes and major incidents. The numbers don't include dinged mailboxes or scratches from hanging tree branches. I found only 10 accidents where both drivers were at fault. That's 3% of reports. In 13% of crashes, the paperwork was incomplete or neither driver could be blamed. 41% of the time, school bus drivers were at fault, and 43% of the time, the other driver caused the crash. Like in 2015, when this school bus was at a complete stop, when the van slammed into the back of it.
Rushing, they could be texting, not paying attention, could be trying to drink their coffee or something, and there's an accident. It could be a bad accident, it could just be a fender bender, but it's still an accident.
State reports show other drivers most commonly cause accidents by failing to yield, driving left of center, or improperly passing. While reviewing reports, I found more than 20 accidents when a car rear-ended a bus. There's a place to record buses rear-ending cars, not the reverse. The driver of a pickup truck died after rear-ending a Garrett Academy bus earlier this year. That investigation is still ongoing.
They're getting off from work. I'm so sick of this bus. Here it is again, so I'm going to try and get it right in.
Paul Cobbs with Dorchester District 4 has been working with student transportation for more than 20 years.
And then they'll get careless, and that's when something happens.
School bus drivers' 3 most common faults include misjudging the distance, backing into somebody, or other, which ranges from inattentive driving to student behavior. In fact, I found multiple reports where an accident occurred after the driver was dealing with, quote, behavioral concerns. A concerned grandmother and former bus driver, Betty Prelo, has managed bus routes and knows the weight of driving the Tri-County's most precious cargo.
You really have to have experience to really be able to concentrate through that noise. We shouldn't be driving so close behind the bus. Oftentimes, it's the sudden stop of the bus because something triggered that driver to have to slam on brakes, and that could cause jam up. It has happened to me when I first started driving.
Dorchester District 4 has procedures in place when accidents happen.
I write that up. If it's like a collision and someone gets hurt, the driver is automatically drug screened.
The South Carolina Department of Education requires districts alcohol and drug screen drivers after an accident. If they get a ticket, a vehicle must be towed if someone goes to the hospital or somebody dies. The department also requires all drivers pass a criminal background check when hired and must have a commercial driving license. That goes for Durham drivers, too.
It's a real hard job because you have other people's children's life in your hands.
I've done all the heavy lifting going through this data. Now we've got the numbers online on live5news.com so you can review and even check on bus accidents linked to your child's school.
And our team is continuing its investigation into school bus safety. We've even been clocking local school buses to see just how fast they're going. We'll have that latest, plus how districts track speeding, coming up next Tuesday on Live 5 News. School bus drivers in South Carolina cover more than 80 million miles of routes each year, all of them with your children inside. That's why a crash in Tennessee last year caught the attention of school transportation officers here in the Low Country. You might remember 6 children died after their bus rolled over in Chattanooga. The driver was accused of speeding. As part of our series on school bus safety, our Carter Coyle investigates what school districts here are doing to make sure buses aren't going too fast.
Liza Lucas and I have been working on a series of school bus safety stories. Tonight, we talk about speeding. With bus driver shortages across the state, we're exploring how districts balance staying on schedule with being sure not to speed.
I like the hours and I love kids.
Jacqueline Sanders has been a bus driver for more than 25 years and works with Dorchester District 4.
I mean, that's a big responsibility being a bus driver. You have so many kids' life in your hands.
Some days are a challenge, and Ms. Sanders says she always has to be alert.
As a driver, constantly kind of check and monitor and make sure the kids are doing in their seats and not just up all over the place.
She says her heart drops anytime she hears about an accident involving a school bus.
You have to love the kids.
She and her boss, DD4 Transportation Director Paul Cobbs, were especially concerned after this Tennessee accident where 6 children died.
I'm like, oh my God. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened here and I hope it doesn't. But we try and do a pretty good job of briefing our drivers and making them aware of what they should do in a safe manner.
In the Tennessee tragedy, the bus driver was accused of driving well above the speed limit and was driving off his assigned route. It has parents like Shariah Fuller hoping Low Country bus drivers are being careful.
Tell me what your name is.
Her son rides the bus to Angel Oak Elementary on Johns Island every day.
They have to be mindful not only of their self, how they driving, but how others are driving too, because some people are just reckless how they drive. So just please keep our kids safe.
When you let your child off and get onto a bus, they are then ours and they are our responsibility. We don't take that lightly.
Terry Dingle is the interim transportation director for Colleton County Schools. His philosophy is that kids cannot learn if they don't get to school on time. Even so, he says you can't pressure drivers.
I want to ensure that all the drivers understand that yes, we need to get them in a timely, get the kids there in a timely manner, but we want them there safely. So speeding is not acceptable. Taking shortcuts are not acceptable. They have routes that have been assigned to them, and they are to follow those routes to the T. This is the bus office, yes.
Oh, perfect. He showed me how technology is transforming how they monitor buses. Let's say Dingle gets a complaint about a bus speeding or taking an incorrect route.
I'll pick a date, let's just say the 18th.
With a few seconds and a few clicks, the video is right at his fingertips.
That's the morning. And so whenever the driver even gets on the bus and does the pre-check, we can see that, what they did. So we can verify whether they actually went through checking the seats, checking the floors.
Colleton County buses are each equipped with 3 cameras, and they're constantly rolling.
So we can check if the driver's doing the proper procedure, letting the students off.
They can determine where a bus has been and how fast it was going at any point in time.
GPS map overlay. So later on, when I investigate it, I'll get statements. But boy, when I'm able to pull this up and I can see actual footage, it fills in the gaps.
Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester Districts 2 and 4 all have similar video systems where they can go back and check speeding and location of a school bus. Dingle says they also do speed checks in the field.
We randomly pick buses and we go out in our car and we check them out.
27 miles an hour on that bus.
I did the same thing.
35.
Using a radar gun, I staked out popular roads in Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester counties, and I clocked school buses.
35.
We checked about 24 total.
33. 39 miles an hour and a 45.
And parents will be relieved to know they were all going at or under the speed limit.
So it's going pretty slow approaching the stop sign here.
Cobb says in his experience, school buses can seem like they're going a lot faster than they really are.
The buses, the RPMs are higher than regular cars, and that it makes that engine sound like it's just running out of the world, but really it needs all that to pull all that weight down it has.
Which is why that video proof is so important.
It protects the driver, it protects the student, and it gives more information.
Ms. Sanders says when it comes to keeping her students safe on the bus, she doesn't take any chances.
Give it to all your best on whatever you do. Make sure they're safe.
I checked with all of our local sheriff's offices and police departments asking if they've given out any speeding tickets to drivers of school buses for the last 3 years. Most told me they weren't able to specifically search for bus driver tickets, but Charleston police can, and they have not issued any speeding tickets to school buses for 3 years.
The local.
Some smaller passenger buses are required to have seatbelts, but those big yellow school buses kids take to and from school, not required to have them. After this deadly accident in Tennessee last year where 6 children died, many of you asked why. Why are seatbelts not required on board? Our Carter Coyo investigates as part of our ongoing series of stories about school bus safety.
This is a high-speed school bus crash. Slow down so you can see every detail. It's just a test, and the kids inside the bus are just mannequins. But it's easy to see which students were strapped into seatbelts and which were not. These eye-opening crash test videos are from a company called Safeguard for Kids, which advocates for seatbelts on all school buses.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't go to the mailbox without putting my seatbelt on.
Terry Dingle is one of several school leaders I interviewed in the Low Country about whether seatbelts should be required on school buses.
That's really up for the legislature to answer that question. But I do think they're probably inevitable. It's just a matter of how that's implemented.
In the near future, I'll foresee seatbelts being on school buses.
School buses are a safe way for kids to get to school. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it's the safest way, seatbelts or not. The NHTSA says kids are 70 times more likely to get to school safely in a bus instead of by car, and that school buses keep 17.3 million cars off the road every morning. School bus seats are built to what's called compartmentalize the kids if there's a crash.
For the most part, if we're going to have an incident going from front to back, you will have that padded, raised seat in front of you to protect you.
With the high backs, children are very safe. In fact, in almost 40 years, we've only had 2 children that were killed inside of a bus.
That is in South Carolina. Yet it's tragedies like this one in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that have parents and school officials reconsidering the seatbelt debate. The bus rolled over in the crash and 6 children died. 6 states currently require seatbelts on school buses: California, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, New Jersey, and New York.
Well, alarms went off in my mind.
South Carolina Representative Wendell Gilliard is one of several legislators proposing bills this year asking South Carolina to get on board with school bus seatbelts.
Safety is the #1 priority with our children. The buses are equipped. If we went to the system, I've talked to some of the engineers and some of the teachers.
He's right that all new buses the state is buying, like these propane-efficient ones in Berkeley County, are equipped to add seatbelts if districts or the state ever requires that. But retrofitting seatbelts onto older buses may not be realistic.
It's going to be cost prohibitive to go back in a fleet and replace all the seats on all the buses.
Charleston County Schools Transportation Director Jeff Scott says they'll have to figure out a system to grandfather out older buses without seatbelts. Impacts to the front or back of the bus are one thing, but Mr. Dingle most worries about accidents where a bus is hit from the side or rolls over.
So if this bus happens to be an incident where we go that way, this is not going to help me as much because I'm going to slide off of the seat like this. But if we have some kind of lap or harness type seatbelt, then when we lean, then it would lock or it would keep me from going past the edge of the seat.
crash test video shows riders hitting into each other, knocking into the windows of the bus, and slamming into the roof of the bus cab if they're not wearing seatbelts.
I wish there were seatbelts, especially for the younger kids. Like my son, he's only 5 years old, and to be on a big school bus like that is better if they had seatbelts.
Of course, the question is cost. Seatbelts add $7,000 to $10,000 more to the cost of each bus. Safeguard says the cost of seatbelts is half what it used to be. They say it boils down to 10 cents per day per passenger.
Where would the money come from for districts to install seatbelts?
We put it in their budget. You know, all they have to do is request. You know, once you do a fiscal impact study, knowing how much money it would cost to do this, then you put that in the budget.
Or districts could fund it themselves without waiting for state money.
That's a small price to pay when it comes to the safety of our kids.
You cannot put a price on a life. If the taxpayers has to pay for it, then I'm quite sure they would want to do it for the safety of their children.
I talked to Safeguard about those test crash videos I showed you. Experts there think it's good that South Carolina is considering new laws, but they're worried there could be some shortfalls with how they're written. One only requires lap bands, not shoulder bands, and all of the bills propose implementing these belts in just a year or two, which they think might not be a realistic time frame. We're going to post a link to all of those proposed bills online.
The